Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to this stream where I will go through the AD CTF lab that Knowit hosted this week. So, as a background, throughout the week now, Monday to Friday, Swedish IT company Knowit, they hosted an AD lab or an AD CTF, Active Directory oriented CTF competition, and consisted of a series of steps, 6 different flags that you had to capture in order. And I actually did not end up getting the last one. So they were valued at like 100, 200, 300, and so on. So the last one was 600 points, which is what I'm lacking here. I had the right idea, but I didn't execute properly on it. So let's see if we can redo this today. So I'm going to try to go through the solution from beginning to end. And please let me know in the chat, like, first of all, like, technical issues, like, is everything sounding okay, and you know, can you see what's going on and so on. Also, I must mention that like Active Directory and Windows exploitation is really not a strong area for me. So if you have any tips or tricks, or better ways to do things than what I'm showing here, please post it in the chat, and we can bring it up and develop our knowledge even further. So with that, I think we should start. So unfortunately, I can't view the challenges here anymore, but basically the first one just gave you like the VPN configuration and this IP address. So let's me bring up my terminal here, increase the font size a bit. So please tell me as well, if you can't see what's on screen and so on. And yeah, so the only thing I've done before starting was to connect to the VPN. So you were given an OpenVPN config and the username and a password. So you would just use that and connect to the VPN. So that's the only thing I've prepared before starting. So if we go to this IP address, first of all, let's bring up a little bit of a notes document here. Increase the font size a bit. So we're given this IP address, and we can visit it in a web browser. And it's some kind of website. It's just some template. But here they have some kind of file upload function. That's interesting. Other than that, I mean, if you look at all of these links, they just go to like a static HTML page. You can see, look for other links in here. Nothing really sticks out. Yeah, I got told in the chat that they changed it so I can view the challenges in the thing. Yeah, so for the first one, you were given this. You were given a config for the VPN and this entry point to this IP address, and they also point out that this other instance here is not in scope. And then there was a link to the Discord server where you could discuss as things were going on. Anyway, so the only thing that just like pops out from the beginning is this upload thing. So let's just create like a dummy file, write hello in it, and let's try to upload this file to the server. We upload this notes.c upload. Not allowed extension. docx or doc are allowed. Okay, so let's create let's change this file. Let's just rename the file to dummy.doc, for example, and we try it again. We upload it. String could not be parsed as XML. The file you uploaded is not a valid docx file. Okay, yes, that's true. If one thing that's good to know about a docx file. So a docx file is essentially a zip file with a bunch of XML files and other files in it. So apparently it's trying to parse this XML file when you upload it. And whenever you see some application parsing an XML file, you should think of XXE attacks. So it's a way of, as an XML external entity. So it's a way of like including files and stuff in XML files when there are processes. So typically used for like local file inclusion attacks and things like that. I mean, I won't go too much into detail, but this is the thing that might be interesting. So could this be a situation where we have an XXE attack? So first of all, let's try to figure out exactly what it is that it's trying to parse. So I will just reuse. So I downloaded. I'm gonna reuse a few files from when I did this originally, but I'm gonna do it in a way that makes sense. So I just downloaded like a sample docx file from the internet because I didn't have Word on this computer. So this is just some XML file. I don't really care what's in it. Let's make a temporary directory, move it in there, and we can check with unzip that you can see that this is the contents. Basically, the docx file is a zip file containing these items. So first of all, we could just try to upload that file by itself. Upload it. Okay, we did not get the error message, so it did parse something, but we don't really know exactly what it's looking at, like which of these XML files is actually being processed. So let's try to like remove the files one at a time to see when we get an error. So first of all, let's just make sure that we can like modify the zip file, the contents, and repackage it again. So we unzip the file and let's zip it back again into xxe.docx, and let's put all of these. First of all, recursively the doc props, word, rels, and this content type. So we're zipping it back up again, and we upload it again. No error message. Okay, so we have not modified it in any way. We've just like unpacked it and zipped it back again. Okay, so let's start by removing files, and we could actually just start with one of some of these directories. So let's first of all we remove this xxe.docx and we redo this, and then we pack up the, let's say we skip the rels directory. That one we could probably skip anyway because it doesn't have an XML file, so let's skip that one. So we have the word directory and the doc props. So let's skip the word one and just do the content types file and the doc props directory. Okay, we'll upload this again. Still no error message. So it was not one of those files it was looking at. Okay, so let's do this again, but remove the doc props directory. Now, if this was like a much bigger thing, I would probably try to like automate this whole process, like maybe write a Python script or something. Actually, we'll do that soon because that's what I did later when actually exploring this. But anyway, right now this is like simple enough to just try out manually. So let's upload this again. Now we get an error message. So we know that whatever it's processing is in this, at least one of the files it's processing is in this doc props. So let's remove the content types XML file as well to just really narrow it down. Upload it. No error message. Okay, great. So let's finally start to choose one of these and keep only one of them. So let's do the app.xml one. Upload. Error message. Okay, so it should be the other one, the core.xml. Let's upload that one. Great. Okay, so now we know that we've created this like minimal, it's actually not really a valid docx file anymore, but in the eyes of this server, it seems to be a valid docx file. So the only file we actually need here is the core.xml file. So now let's do this, try to exploit this XXC attack. And now, because I mean, I'm not like super fluent in these attacks and I want to be able to retry a whole bunch of things, let's actually create a script to be able to do this, like try this over and over again without having to go through too much manual hassle. So let's create this like xxc.py. So we are going to use the requests library, and actually I'm gonna have us like a sneak peek on what I actually wrote before to speed this up a little bit. I'm going to like reference my notes that I have from previously, but I'm going to like explain everything. So yes, exactly. So what we're gonna do, first of all, the URL we're uploading to is this this file. And what we want to do is that we want to like build this, we want to create this, we want to make this request. So first of all, it should be a post request, right? Let's double check how the form works. Yeah, so here is the actual HTML form. So we do a post to this URL, and then we post some files, and we call this file. And so we're going to put something here, and then we should also put in the actual submit value. So the form data submit is, okay, no specific value, but just say true. All right, so when you use this request library and you upload files, you can either pick a file on disk, but I want to like write my exploit here in the script and like build this whole thing in memory. So first of all, let's check what we are starting from. What is this? The core.xml. It looks like this. So core XML. This is what we're starting from. Actually, let's make this a bit more readable. We format this and write it like this. Much more readable. And then we want to build a zip file out of this. And now again, I'm gonna just reference my old stuff again. So what we do is that we create this. We use the IO library to create this like file stream, like in-memory file stream, which we can then use with the zip file library in Python. So this library is used to manipulate zip files, and you can give this like a file on disk to like read and write from, but you can also just give it like a file object, and this file object can be one of these like in-memory file objects, so we never need to write anything to disk. And then again, we can create a file in this zip file. So now we're building a zip file, and we're building it in memory. So we want to create a file which has this name and contains this XML data, and then we want to close this zip handler, and this will write to all the headers and stuff to this. Okay, so let's also debug this to make sure that we got everything right. So we will actually just write this out to disk. So we seek back in this file stream. We rewind it to the beginning. We write this debug.docs, and we write all the data of this in-memory stream. We write to this stream, and we just run this code. We get a debug.docx, which, let's try to upload this. It gives some kind of error. Maybe we need to do, yeah, maybe we actually need to have that on the, so something didn't work. I think it might be that we need to have this on the actually first line. So I will just strip the white space away. We try to run this again. Okay, that worked. So this XML, whatever it's called, this tag needs to be on the very first line. So you see, for like formatting purposes, I wrote it like this, which will create an empty line here, but then I'll just strip it away here. You could have also written it like this, but I think it's more readable like this. Anyway, so now that was good. We found a small mistake, and it's all good. So now we can try to upload this through the Python script directly. So we, as I said, we rewind the stream, and we name the file. And then we use this data. I think this is the syntax. And then let's just print the status code and the response text. We get a status 200 and an empty body. Okay, so it seems like it's working. So now let's try the actual XXE attack. And I mean, what I would just do is like XXE payload. I think there's one of these, you know, you get all of these different repositories and stuff. So let's try to, yeah, so the most like plain vanilla version of the XXE is when you like include a file and it's actually included in the output, so you would like get it maybe like echoed back directly. But here we see that we don't really get any output here at all. So we need to do one of these like out of bounds thing where you take a file and it's like sent off to somewhere else. And because I struggled a little bit with like finding the right variant of this, let me just bring up some notes again here. So I think it was this variant of it I did. So for a moment, let's skip all of this XML. Let's keep it, but we create this document, and I'm going to go through and explain what this does in a second. So basically here we are using this to, oh right, now I remember why I need this other part of it. Okay. So what we're doing here is that we're going to host a malicious DTD, which is then is going to be included by the XML file. And then in that one, we're going to have our actual payload, which will be referenced from in this XML document. So first of all, let's create this malicious XXE thing, or the DTD, I mean. And oh, there you have it, the XXE. Right, so I'm gonna set this up. I'm gonna create this xxe.dtd, and we're actually going to copy this into a note file and just change it to something simpler for the moment, to do this in the right proper order. So so basically the setup here then is that we're going to host this DTD file. This thing is going to be uploaded. It's going to include this DTD file, and then it's when it's processing this element here, it's going to or sorry, maybe it's directly here. Yeah, as you can hear, I'm not really an expert on how these things works, but basically it will get one of these files, and then it will try to request this with that file as an argument to this URL. So I will be using ngrok for this to set up a listener on my computer. So I'm going to just create a directory, go into this directory. I'm gonna copy this this DTD file in here. I'm gonna start up a Python web server in this directory. So now I can go to like localhost 8000 and I can get this DTD. And then I'm gonna fire up ngrok to point to this local. So this is like one of these reverse proxy things, and then you can visit this from the internet. So now this is exposed on the internet. So let's go into our original file and just update this thing here. So I guess the first thing we can check is just to see if we actually get the request for this at all. So let's, for the moment, let's not care about the contents here. Let's just see, like, do we actually even get the request for the xxe.dtd file? So, oh, sorry, we don't use this anymore. We use our script. So we run this, and it does not look like we get the request. So why is let me recheck these. How do you do these things? So this is a setup we have, right? We have let's check again. First of all, let's quickly just double check with curl that we can actually, that this is the correct URL. Yes, we get the request, we can download it, cool. So we should be able to do this now. Oh, I didn't replace the variable. I was still uploading the old XML. Let's try again. No, not curl. Run the Python script. Yes, so we get the request. Okay, so it is including the, it is requesting the DTD. That's a good first step. So now can we, let's look at this setup again. So we have this, and then we can have a file here, and then it will request this. It should request this from us. So let's create this thing properly. Yes, we have the same looking thing. Good. Oh, I'm editing. Yeah, so this you have to be careful. I remember how I said I copied the file, so I was actually editing the wrong one. So here we update this with the correct ngrok listener, and now we try this again. And we get one request, but we do not get the second request. So there's something that's not properly working. Yes, okay. So first of all, when I try this, so this is another thing that I have to be careful with. If you try this with this like /etc password, you see that it doesn't work. But if I try this with /etc/hostname, you see it does work, and we get data leaked here. And if we look at these two files on my computer, for example, on this, so the hostname file is just a single line. So I think this is the issue here is while the etc password file is multiple lines. So I think the issue here is that when you have new multi-line data here, there is some issue. So we can now extract files with a single line in it. Not extremely helpful. But luckily we can use this PHP filter trick. So we, instead of just opening the, so since we know that this is executed in a PHP file, since we're uploading this to this upload.php, we can try to use this PHP filter thing. So this is like a special feature in PHP. This is an amazing thing. If you don't know about it, by the way, you should read about it. It's PHP was filter resource. What is it called? Yeah. It's like a special protocol handler, and you can do these filter things, which is like you can open a file, but you can like run it through some pre-processing before it's actually served to the PHP code. And this is great for like LFI, like local file inclusion attacks. So what you can do is you can base64 encode something before you actually extract it. And this is great for extracting. So if you get like a local file inclusion and you can do this, you can extract PHP code and so on. So let's try again with this, but running it through the base64 filter first. And yes, you see here now we get a big blob of data in the request. So let's create a folder, call it like xfill, and this is the password file. We base64 decode that one, and we can check it. Okay, so this is what we have leaked from the server. These are all like regular system users, whatever. And we have this user called Lee. Okay, that's good to know. Let's copy this into our notes. Now, what we can do to make things a little bit easier, or actually, we don't really know what files there are on the system. So one thing we could start with is like to extract the code that's running this upload.php file. So let's do this. Where could it be located? So let's just guess that this is like a regular setup where it would be located in the /var/www/html directory, and it could be this uploaded PHP. So let's just see if that's the case. And it does seem like it is. So we copy all of that data, we go into this exfil, we dump this here, we base64 decode this. What happened there? So I made some kind of mistake, and then we base64 decode this. Okay, so there we have the code. Let's open it up in the editor. So what it's doing, it's fetching the file, checking the extension, checking that it's not too big, and then it moves the file into a target file, and target file is just the MD5 hash, so we can't control anything in the file name, unfortunate. And then here it will actually like pull out the zip file, and it will parse the title element and then like list like, oh, title has been added. So what's nice with this actually is that we can now kind of like make our script even smoother by actually getting our XXC directly in the output. So we can just make our workflow a little bit faster, because now we're going to just try looking for some files. So let's update our XXC attack. Again, I'm gonna like take I'm gonna cheat a little bit and check what I did for in the end. So let's make a new one here, core XML XXC2 and strip. So what we're doing here now is a much simpler version of the attack, where we're using, let's go back to, oh, I closed that down, XXC payload. We're just doing this basic version here, where we are just including the file directly in the output, but we make sure, so if we check the code here, it's looking for an element called the DC title. So we make sure to create such an element here with this proper like doc type thing as specified by this standard, and then we include this element in the title tag. So now we can just try looking for different files, and I just put a placeholder here, so we can just do like here file name, and then let's try with etc password again, and we put the number 2 in there, and the input the file name. So we try this again, and now you see we get the output directly in the script, which is much easier. So we can just actually close down this web server and ngrok listener, and we don't need it anymore. So now we need to find some files. So what do we have? We have the etc password thing. We could look at other things which are like nice to look at, is like the proc self command line thing. which did not seem, isn't it called that? Prox self. Okay, so maybe we can't access that. Can we check like prox self maps? Yeah, we can. So we see that we are running in an Apache web server. So PHP inside an Apache web server. That's some information that we get from this. Generally the proc like sudo file system or whatever you call it is very interesting. You can leak a lot of information, which I will get back to in a moment, actually, in the next step, where I used it to spy a little bit on the other participants. You could check the environment variables. That's also good to know. So check the environment variables. Okay, that didn't work for some reason. And yeah, so now I'm not quite sure. So maybe we turn our attention to this Lee user. So maybe we can try to get something from their home directory. Let's try to see if we can get like the, first of all, can we even read stuff from there? So let's check the profile. Yes, we can read this file. Okay, so what other things could you have in your home directory? You could have like a bash history, maybe. Okay, doesn't seem to work. Though we do not get an error, so maybe it's just the file is like empty or something. What else could there be? You could look at the SSH directory and check the authorized keys. Okay, so we can access that one. So maybe we could even access if they have like an SSH key there. And that works. Amazing. That really should not work. Those permissions are messed up. So let's just store this, and here is the id.rsa. So let's see now then if we can SSH into this box as this user. So we have the IP address. So we SSH, we use this file that we just extracted. We use Lee at 10.0.1.4. Oh my god. Nice. We can SSH into the server. Great. Let's close some things here. And here we get the first flag. Oh, right, I forgot to update the status here. So we go directly to flag 2. Okay, so that's the first part. Now we have access to this web server. What do we do from here? What things do we have access to? Can we do like sudo? No, we don't have the password. We could check in this directory. Check the uploads. Here are all my uploads and so on. And generally you could try to look around here, and maybe if you need to like get some scripts onto this system and try to run them, you can do this from this temp directory. So there are these like Linux privilege escalation scanner script things, and like this one, for example, linenum. And so let's, in this temporary, let's create a directory, CETA2, and in here we can just download this file. We can make it executable. We can execute it, and it will try to look for a whole bunch of things. So like kernel information, group memberships, environment stuff, some paths, some shells, cron jobs, and you can look into, and you can find this. It's interesting. There's a name server, which is on a different network. Actually, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but let's just note this down. So, I mean, this took way longer to find things. What I also found is that you have Nmap on this server. So the first of all, let's check our IP address. So let's check our current network for other hosts. And there was, by the way, it was specified in the rules or whatever that you never had to scan anything larger than a /24. That was specified somewhere. So it seems that in this network there are only 2 servers, the 0.4 and the 0.5. And now you might notice that I just used the default settings, and you know, maybe there could be other servers not responding to a ping, and you could try it like without the ping and just doing TCP connect scans and so on. And of course, that's what I ended up doing a lot, like trying to scan a whole bunch of stuff. But in the end, it turns out that it doesn't actually, like, there are no other servers in this network. Well, there is the like 0.1, which is like a gateway or something, but it doesn't have anything, I think, or something like that. Anyway, there's nothing interesting in the network you will eventually find. But what about this other IP address? So let's try to scan that IP range as well. Could that be interesting? We wait for a little bit. And then before I actually go on with it, I will actually explain a little bit how I was able to like spy on what the other people were doing when we're doing this, which is a little neat trick that you can use. Yeah, so in the meanwhile, basically, I mean, when we were doing this, multiple people were able to get on this host, and they had these. Initially, they forgot to turn off directory listening in the temp directory, so it was easy to like check what others were trying. And then they fixed that, but there's another thing you can do, which is to use this proc like sudo file system to read these command line files and the working directory files for all the running processes. Or yeah, I should also add that they had disabled the PS tool. So let's bring up another SSH session here. So for example, if we try to run PS, you can see permission denied. But what we can do is we can do like find in the proc max depth 1 type directory. You can get all the running process IDs, and then you can do a script like this: for d in this, do echo d done, right? And then you can do cat d slash command line, for example. And you can see that the output is a bit messy. Let's see if I can add like just a, yeah, like this. You can see all of the running processes anyway. And you can also check, you can do ls the current working directory, and then you could get the different working directories of running processes. So with this little snippet, you can still spy on you know, all the current running processes, their working directories, and which command line was used to launch them, even though the PS command is disabled. Anyway, it looks like so here we get that these things do not respond to ping thing, but we have this name server. So what if we just reduce it to just that IP address and then we skip the ping scan and try it again? Look, it worked. So this is a server, a whole bunch of ports open. Looks very Microsofty. So could be you know, part of an AD network, which is what we're looking for. That's the theme of this whole thing. And so where do we go from here? So we have these Smb ports open, and we have LDAP open. So let's try to just like connect to one of those and try to scan things. So now we want to set up like a nice workflow for this. The way we can do this is that we can use SSH to set up a like a SOCKS proxy, and we can proxy our local traffic through the SSH server to this server in this 192 net that we're looking at. So let's disconnect from the SSH. And then what we do, I will actually do this in this other tab where I have all of these things. So what we can do here is so we have this SSH command, right? And then what we do is we can add like a /D and a port. So we use this port 9050, which is the default configuration for the proxy chains thing. So you connect to SSH again, like usual, but you add this like D 9050, which will open up a local SOCKS proxy. And this means we can use the proxy chains tool to proxy our traffic through this SSH server, and then to that we can connect to this server that's reachable from our initial server. And if we look here at what so let's close down a bunch of tabs. And look at our notes again. So we have things, we have like Smb and LDAP open. So let's try one of these LDAP tools. Let me just check. So this is now we're going to get into the part which is a bit messy, where I'm not an expert, and I'm just going to try to explain like some of the things I did to navigate this. And if you have, you know, other ways of doing this that you did, please let me know. So this tool, LDAP domain dump, and let me just actually give this an output directory argument this time. So basically what we need is we need a host name. So we create this LDAP domain dump, we specify an output directory, and give it this 192 4. So this is a Python script, and then we run it by prefixing it with this proxy chains command. We try to run this. It says bind OK, starting domain dump finished. And we can check in this LDAP dump, we have a bunch of files. So let's check those files. Okay, it doesn't seem to have worked. It's just empty data. So maybe we can't just connect to this anonymously then. We need to have some kind of credentials. So let's, store this for now and move on. So let's check the Smb thing. And there's this other tool I found, Smb Map. So let's delete some stuff here. So we have this Smb Map Tool, and what do we need to give this one? We need like a host, and then possibly some credentials, which we don't have. So let's just proxy chains, Smb map, host 192.1.4. Capital H. Okay, seems that we're connecting. Right, so we do get some output here. And we seem to have no access to most of the stuff, but there's this share called GPO backup that we do have read-only access to. That's very interesting. So let's actually we create another directory like SMB. We can use then this. Sorry, let me copy proxy chains. Oh wait, I did. Okay. So let's use the SMB client to, again, let me just remove some stuff. To connect to this, and we should be able to just can we do let me just I have so much crap that I've gone through. Right, okay, so we use the SMB client and we connect to the server and this GPO backup directory with the proxy chains command, and then when it asks for a password, we just enter whatever, and we get access to this anonymously. So let's just download all of this stuff and examine it locally. And if I remember correctly, you can write something like SMB client download recursive. This was very like non-obvious to me. mget was the command. Right. So let's note this down. You write so like prompt recurse mget star. So we're downloading all the stuff from the server. And let's wait for that. There was a question like, hey, I want to learn hacking and I don't know how to start, and should I purchase the Nmap book by Gordon? I would personally say that, I mean, this depends on like what area interests you, but I would say like learning programming is probably like a very good start. Well, at least that's, I mean, what I did. On the other hand, if you want to go more into like network security, I would say that just learning like network administration and like system management would be a good way of starting out. So like learning how to work with like network protocols and switches and routers and Linux servers and Windows servers, I think is just the best way. I think starting by learning like hacking without knowing the stuff that you're hacking is, in my opinion, the wrong approach. I think the best way to learn it is to first learn how you build it, and then like the matter of like how you break it will just be like a shift in like mindset, and then start learning specifics. So I would say like if you want to learn about like hacking Windows networks, I would say probably the best way of learning it is start by like learning how to set up a Windows network, and it's in the same sense like to learn how to learn application security is to build applications, and then you can start learning like the hacking part and like relating your experiences with what you learn through the security part. So yeah, I think that's good. Now we have downloaded these files. Let's exit the Smb client. So let's just open this directory up in this notes file. So in here we have all of these like policy definitions, a whole bunch of XML files. So I mean, you can like try to search through this, and eventually you will find this groups.xml file. And let's just copy the contents over here. First of all, so just copy the path of that into the notes, and the contents of this. Here we have something. It says a C password, and then there is a base64 string here, and there's a username lab.local Azure kiosk. So it seems that we have found some kind of username and a password. So that's cool. But what is this? I mean, I didn't know about this stuff when I started out. So let's close all of this stuff down and search for like groups.xml C password. And then it says like finding password in sysvol, exploiting group policy preferences. So this article talks about this, and basically this password here is encrypted, but it's encrypted with like a known key, so we can decrypt this and get a password. And there are a whole bunch of tools to do this. I found some Ruby script online, so let's just reuse that. I think a whole bunch of these like credential dumping tools might have this built in and so on. But let me just get this. Yeah, there's the thing. C password decrypt. Let's look at it. So this is just a script I found on the internet, which uses this key to decrypt the data. It does actually seem like it's just AES 256 CBC with this as the key. So, and then some padding. Actually, let's just let's learn a little bit more. Let's verify this, but by just re-implementing this in Python to just double check that this is just the case. So from cipher import AES and then we have this key and we have the C password that we want to decrypt. It's here. We need the base64 library. So we create an AES object with this key. We set the mode to mode CBC. We decrypt. First of all, we base64 decode this, and then we can see if this works. So let's run Python 3 C password decrypt. All right. Is it the key that needs to be right? Okay. So this work. First of all, this might look like it's garbage, but you can actually see here that this is actually a UTF-16 encoded string. First of all, we have the PKCS padding here. I guess we also have, could this be like is the IV unpack? I want to just check what's this prefix here actually. But could this be, I'm just gonna take a guess that it's just like the IV. Yeah, so it's just one block of the IV, and then it looks like, so we need to remove that, and we also need to remove the pad length is just if we take the last character, and then we remove that much at the end. There was a question here about what I'm doing here today. So I'm going through the solution to this AD Lab that was hosted by Knowit. So, and here I'm just writing my own tool to decrypt this password just for fun. And then finally, we decode this as UTF-16. Ah, right. Okay, now I see what happened. So we see this is something is missing here. Specifically, my mistake, I think, is that the API is differs in Ruby and Python in that they just include the IV here as the first block, while we need to specify it explicitly here in Python. So basically, what we do here, we can set the IV as the first block of this, and just or is it like an all zero IV? Anyway, I guess this is, yeah, maybe we shouldn't spend too much time on this, but let's just try that as a last thing, and then we'll just leave it. But basically, you see that it's, yeah, okay, so it's just an all 0 IV. So, and that way we can decrypt this this password. So it's just an AES encryption with a static key of this password. Okay. So now we have a domain user and the password. So let's try this LDAP dump thing again, but this time authenticated as a user. So first of all, how do we provide that? We provide it with a U and a P. So let's go back to that command. And right, so here we have the same output directory using the proxy chain, same server, but this time we provide a username and a password to try to see if we can access stuff in LDAP. Okay, so we got some dump this time. Let's see if this worked. Right, now we see that there's a lot more data in here. So just let's bring up some stuff here. These HTML files. Oh, suddenly we get actual data. Cool. So we see that in this domain, there are these servers, the DC, server 1, server 2, and then this other cube domain computer accounts. Okay. We can find groups. We can find trust. That was empty. Let's close it. Let's say we have a list here of all the users. Here is a C Simmons, and there you also have the second flag. So let's just note down that, oh right, we should note that we run this again with the actually, let's copy that from the command line. Okay, cool. We get this file, and in this file we find this that's some description for this C Simmons character. Great, so that's the second flag. And what else do we find here? We see that these are all equal, but we see here that this one support says don't require pre-auth. Now this took quite a long time for me, so I mean I didn't find this immediately, but this is a relevant thing. So we can actually, if we search for this, I don't know, search for like dump hash, maybe how to attack Kerberos. And let's see. So this is basically what this means is that we should be able to use this setting of this user to leak the hash of this user. So I think there was like an impacket script for this. Now, what tool did I actually use for this? Let me actually go back to my notes. Again, this is really not my strongest area, so I will have to cheat a little bit and check in my notes. And oh, maybe it was this thing then. Okay. I'm just verifying something here. Right. Okay. So we can use this. So there's this collection of scripts called Impacket. Has a bunch of scripts for working with network protocols, a lot of like Windows related stuff. And basically this contains one of the scripts called get np users. And if we run this with and try to request one of the users that we know, for example, this lab local Azure kiosk, then it will say like Azure kiosk don't require pre-auth set. Okay, but what if we run it then with this user support that does have this thing set? Then we get this hash instead. Okay, so this is some like Kerberos password hash, and now we can try to crack this offline. And there was also another thing in the like general rules and hints was that like any password that you need to crack is possible to crack with the RockU password list and a CPU. So let's close that down. Well, let's see. Do I have maybe I don't have John installed on it. So I'm working here inside of a VM. So typically, if I need to do any password cracking, I do that outside the VM. But I thought I would just give you an example of how to do this. So let's just install John here locally in this thing. So what we do is we copy this into the support.hash, well, let's call this file this, and then so we can just search for how to set this up. So we get this hash, and then we use the John with the word list. So we need to have this file. So our hash file is in this support.hash, and our word list, I actually have rockq in a share. So let's take that one. So we should be able to run this. Unknown ciphertext format requested. Do we need to install this? There was this other package. Character sets, no. Is it like the version we're using or something? Do you need to have the like this like what is called the jumbo pack? Let's see. No, not the pro version. Windows binaries. Yeah, I don't think I can be bothered with that. Anyway, if you do run this, the password will, I mean, it will be cracked, and it's "I love you!" exclamation mark. So you can do that with any, password cracking tool of your choice, using the rockq word list. And given that you assuming you have a proper installation of John, this would be the command. You just provide this format, you provide the hash, you can provide the rockq word list, and it will spit out this one. Okay, so that's progress. So what can we do with that? Now we have yet another user. So let's go back and look at the things we haven't looked for. Actually, we need to update this to say flag 3. That's what we're looking for right now. Okay, let's try again the Smb client. No, not Smb client. The Smb map thing, but with credentials. So maybe this user has access to some shares. So how do we specify this? We specify it with U and P. Okay, Smb map. So U lab.local support P I love you exclamation mark. Need to put some quotes in here. And then the target is the host is just a capital H. Guest session. Shouldn't this list the stuff at least? What's this? Okay, so maybe this one doesn't have. Does this not have access to anything? Okay, maybe that's the case. Let's do the LDAP thing again then. The LDAP domain dump thing. Let's change this to support, and then we change the password to I love you, and then actually let's dump this in a separate directory and see if there are any differences to what we get out. So now we have the LDAP dump, and we have LDAP dump 2. So we can quickly see if we found any new information by doing a recursive diff on these two. So we see that there are some changes. There are some dates and stuff. That's to be expected, because this is when we run this. Other than that, oh, looks what's this? So this is in the domain computers.json. So let's open that one in the LDAP dump domain computers.json. So here there was apparently a new entry that says ADM PVD. So that could be like admin password, I guess. And this is for the computer server 1 lab.local. Okay, so this could be, is this like a local admin password? And we Google this. So LAPS, local administrator password service, or is it solution? Yeah, so this is you can read up on this. It's a like solution for managing like passwords of the local administrators. Again, I'm not a Windows network expert, so I don't know too much about it, but I do know that this is a password, or I really suspect it is. First of all, let's copy this command line thing down again, and we can notice that we have this. I did this diff, and then we get this password, and let's close this down, close this down, close this one down. Okay, so I mean, do we know that the username is, yeah, well, let's, I mean, the local admin is typically called just administrator, but it could be something else, I guess. I think you can look this up in those group policies we leaked, the Smb. So let's check in. I don't remember exactly where I found this, but I do think that it actually says somewhere in these policies that the local admin username is in fact administrator. Maybe if someone in the chat could comment on that, but anyway, I'm just gonna assume that for the time being. So that means that we have this server 1 where we possibly have a local administrator. Let's check. Do we know where this server 1 is located? Maybe we'd need an IP address of this, which we could just scan for, I guess, but you can just look for something like this. So then I guess we could do like a scan, so like proxy chains, nmap 192.168.1.24, and like no ping scan. Oh, this could actually, no, wait, let's not do that from here. Let's actually use the the nmap that's on the web server. So we SSH back into the server. We use nmap. We run this here. And I could let this, yeah, I could let this finish. It would be fairly quick. I guess there is also would be some way to like query the domain controller maybe for some IP address here, but yeah, I'm not completely sure about that. So let's see what's the progress, almost halfway. It will give us 2 other servers in the network that we didn't already know about, and one of them is this server 1. So you can do DNS lookups. Oh, right. So that's true. We should be able to do like proxy chains dig server 1.lab.local at 192.168.1.4. Oh, right. Wait, can we do this with UDP? We can do this from the SSH server. So actually, let's just cancel that and do dig. They don't have. So we do get these 2 servers, and yeah, so we can use some we can use anything that queries the DNS to look this up, like just curl, for example, even though I couldn't use dig directly. Can I use NSLookup as a Windows tool, right? Yeah, so I don't know, does proxy chains not work through, or like, so this should work, this dig command, but it doesn't. But anyway, you can use the DNS lookup to find these servers. So we can actually host is the name, the command. Server 01.lab.local. Yes, okay, thank you. So we can use these to look up these addresses. I'm so used to using dig that I have forgot about host. It's pretty bad by me. So we can use these things to find these 2 IP addresses. Okay. So what do we have? We are currently mostly interested in this 1.5 at the moment. So let's scan that one. Specifically skip the ping scan, and we can do, since we only have 1 server, we could do like top ports, like the 3000 top ports or something. I think that covers, if I read something that covers like the 99% or something about of services that are used. So we can use this. So that's like someone said that curl was a new one. Yeah, I mean, you can just use any program that would like do a DNS lookup, but host is of course the simplest one. Oh, so we see that we have this port 5985 open, which is like Windows remote management thing. And this is probably where I was stuck for the longest time. So if you Google this, you will find a lot of mentions of tools like Evil WinRM, for example, which is like a shell for using this remote management stuff, like to exploit this. But the thing is that if we use that, I can show you what that looks like. So if we use this Evil WinRM with this password on the server, you get this error message. The term invoke expression is not recognized as a command. So you can try to find some information about this, and basically you can set this remote management thing up to not allow like arbitrary PowerShell commands, but you can create like a restricted profile of allowed commands. I think someone had there was like a DEF CON talk about this or something like that. Maybe someone could link that in the chat. But basically, what we then need to do instead, first let's disconnect. Actually, let's do the port scan of the 0.6 as well while we're still on at the SSH thing, and then just close the Evil WinRM. So I'm just gonna copy this stuff for the 0.61, so we keep that for future reference. So I'm just gonna start out by copying a start with, like, we could start from, so there's a Python library for this remote management thing that we could use as a basis for this. So let's open that one and then just delete a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, so there's this Python library called, sorry, I'm just gonna delete all of this. And so there's this Python library called PyPSRP. So you can look this up. So it's a, this PowerShell remoting protocol client library. And if we go down to like the examples, we can see how to use it to get a PowerShell shell, or we can execute PowerShell commands. So I'm gonna remove all of this old stuff. And let's start with something simple. See if we can just execute like 1 + 1 and then print the output. So we're basically just using this library. We're connecting to this server with this administrator username and password, and no encryption, and then we get this PowerShell and just try to add, like, execute 1 + 1, and we print the output of that. So and we get, oh, we need to actually, and there should be, sorry, I need to get that there's a way to also get the errors when you invoke this. Okay, let's skip that for now. So we just call this invoke function. Still not working. Let's see, do we have some errors? Sorry, it's called stream.error. So there is something there, an error record. Could be so yeah, I'm gonna double check with the script I used previously to just, because the API was like a little bit like maybe not the most obvious for how to use this. Yeah, I just used this to like dump all the different outputs in these streams, and then also redirect shell error to out. So now why isn't this working? So could we do something like echo? What is that actually called? And so it's supposed to just did I get the wrong password? So we're trying to get the error message here, and something is acting up. So that's a generator object. So we should be able to just call the next function on this. Now I'm a bit annoyed. For error in this stream, print error. Can we do this? Yes, okay, that works. Okay, so the term echo is not recognized as a name of a commandlet. Okay, could we do something like this? Not recognized as a name of a commandlet. So we need to be able to do something to see what we're doing, and let's see if we can like list the commands that we have. So like PowerShell list all commandlets. So there's this get command, so that could be useful. So let's try to use that. And now we do get something in the output. So actually let's just dump all of this stuff and then just say like for every out object in the output stream, I guess, PS data stream, or is it just in, was just called output? This is like very inconsistent design here, I think. Right, that's the one. Okay, so let's skip this and print this out. So this is the output of running the get command Okay, good. And then we can get maybe more information about these. So we can use the select object thing. So we do like get command, and then we pass this to select object. Let's see if that works. Still gives the same output. And we can look at the select object PowerShell thing. So we should be able to just list all of this stuff, but then you have this select my object. Well, let's Google that one. And this one doesn't seem to be like a built-in thing. What happens if we use that one instead? Sorry. Okay, still the same thing. So we want to like get more details about this thing. So let's look back at the command thing, and then you can say format table command type. We should be able to just like dump out like all the properties of these things. Oh, actually, I think it's actually part of this. Now this might be what was the case, that they are part of this. Like, this is not just a string, this is like a big object. So let's skip that for a moment. And then we have these extended properties and property. Yeah. So so print like all of these adapted properties, extended properties, property sets. Right, so now we're getting much more information about these commands. And let's actually look, if you go through these, you can look at this data and see how they are defined. And you can see that some of these are like built-in commands, and some of them are not. And you can go through these definitions one at a time, and you can find that some of them are built-ins and some of them are defined as scripts. So let's do this. Like, if script block is in this adapted properties, or actually you can do this even simpler by doing get script block and then otherwise just empty string. So we print this out. So we get how some of these things are defined in terms of other like small snippets of PowerShell. Actually, we should. Oh, the name is printed out. And you can go look through these, but eventually you will like find this one, which is called get remote process. And this one it will take two parameters, the name and the computer name, and then it will create a script block, and it will use the get process, and then it will input your parameters here. But it looks like this is just like a string concatenation of these things, and then it will just create the script block out of this and execute this. So maybe we can do some command line injection here or here. So let's try that. First of all, let's copy this to our notes. And I'm gonna close this down and close this down, this down. Okay, so we are getting somewhere, and let's then try to run this. Let's just clean that up. So we skip that, and then we do get remote process, and we add a parameter, and we say that which one of them were the first ones. So let's actually make sure that this command makes sense and then inject the stuff at the end. And this has a default value, so let's just skip the computer name, which will then pick itself the current computer name, and then just provide a name. So first of all, let's actually just run this without any shenanigans at all. Just try to run get remote process, add parameter. Sorry, this should be a named parameter. Cannot find a process with the name CMD. Can we find like SVC host maybe? Okay, good. So we can run this command. But what if we then run, first of all, let's save this as just a valid command. And then we try to just do like CMD, like semicolon 1 + 1. And we get the 2 back. And let's comment this out. Okay, so we have successfully injected some kind of command. Let's try to see if we can run like who am I? And we are apparently this user here on the server, cube1. So that's probably the like name of the local administrator. So now we want to make our experience a bit simpler. So we want to open like a reverse shell for this, and for this we can use, for example, Metasploit and set up like a Meterpreter session. So now we get to the part where I might start messing things up. So let's first of all use the MSF Venom command to just generate a PowerShell script for our Meterpreter session. So we want this payload like a Meterpreter reverse TCP, and like the IP address and port it should connect to, format PowerShell, and just output this into this script. And then we can look at this, and we have some PowerShell. What we could now do is we could put this like on a web server and just have one command to just download and execute this whole file. But we can actually also just insert the whole thing directly in our command injection. So let's just do that. And then actually we'll add this to comment out what's after this command. So now let's launch Metasploit. And we want to set up this handler, and we need some parameters for that. And give me a moment to just find some of the commands I needed. So, one moment. So we use this, we set up this handler. We say that this is the payload we want. We listen to any interface on that port, and we wanted to reuse it. It's like if we connect multiple times, it will keep setting up multiple sessions for us. And then we can just run this, and now it has set up the reverse handler. So we should now be able to just execute this, and it should connect back to us and give us a shell. So let's try that. Preferably standing in the right directory. Oh, right. We should actually insert the payloads in our format string. This script contains malicious content and has been blocked by your antivirus. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So maybe we could try. So this was like things like I didn't really encounter when doing this during the week, because I guess other people had like disabled stuff. But let's actually try to do it the other way than with just executing the single, like download the script and execute it. So I actually have this already set up. So I have this basically the same payload, just hosted at this address. So we should be able to just do that instead by like PowerShell execute script download. Use one of these like net client thing, and then you can just pass it to the iexec. Let's check the syntax for that again. It's something like this. Yes, so this is what you do. So this is the command now we want to execute instead. So let's try that. Let's see if that works better. So just to clarify, what we do here, we create a web client object, then we download this and we get the string out of this, and then we like execute the downloaded string. And we try to run this again. This script contains malicious content that has been blocked by your antivirus software. So the question is, can we I have this other command to like disable to try it. Since we are running as a local administrator, we should be able to just like get rid of that. I had some notes here that I had saved. I think this is what we want, like disable real-time monitoring. Let's see if we can do that. That works just right out of the box. Or is that like some script we need to download? Incapacitating Windows Defender. So we should be able to just call this then, and maybe just disable. Why is this not working? We should be able to just run this. First of all, can we like even positional parameter that accepts argument files / Windows? Okay, let's take this back one step then. Just try to see if we can get some directory listing going. Yes. We can get some directory listing. Try to go into program files then. Get the yes. And can we go into Windows Defender? We do have this mpcmd run.exe. Do we have to do this in one Okay, I'm PowerShell execute program with arguments. Am I like running this incorrectly? So no, we should be able to just do this. Do we have to do like // to actually provide path? Right, that seemed to have worked. Can we then just call our script? That worked. Yeah, so there was the ./ that was incorrect. So now we call this, it worked, and it says that it started the session and then it died again, and this exited. So I guess the problem here is now that let me just summarize. By the way, we should simplify this down now again to this. Let me just double check that I can still run this. Cool. So what we do is we use this command thing to disable the Windows Defender stuff, and then we download the interpreter thing and we run that. But now, wait, did it just... Let me check sessions. No active sessions. Do we have the listener running? We do have the listener running. So why is this not... Maybe it's disconnecting immediately. So let's then add like a sleep here. Okay, so now we get a session that opens and it stay open because we are still sleeping here. So the problem before was that the script finished, the shell died, and like all the whole process tree died. So now we have a interpreter session. Great, but this will die in 1,000 seconds. So first of all, let's check. Who are we? We are this administrator. Let's go to the root. So we are on this server now. We can check for running services. This is interesting. We have a key pass process running and some other things, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. First of all, we have the code execution here, and you can look around a little bit, and we can go here, I think, to the desktop, and there we have a flag.txt. So that's the third flag to get code execution on this server 1, and this should say no, it's like UTF-16 bomb thing encoding issue. Okay, great. But now let's get a shell that's actually permanent. So first of all, get system, and then let's like migrate into one of the existing. So let's take like this one and migrate into that one. Let's hope this works. Yes. So now you can see our connection died because the process that was running died when we migrated. So now we are running from inside one of these more permanent services, and we don't have a time limit anymore. So that's great. So let's go for the fourth flag. So this key pass thing here we had running, this is very interesting. So if we have a key pass process running, then we should be able to extract the, first of all, we should get the key pass database. So let's let's go to the root. Let's go to the users directory. Let's assume that it's somewhere in here. So we search, starting in this directory, and we search for something, and they're called KDBX files. And it's good if you misspell things correctly. Great. So we have here a database.kdbx. So let's download that file of the server. Is it // here? Right, okay. So we download the KDBX file. And now, I mean, I did this on from my server from which I was running this. So let me just download this KDBX. Sorry, not SSH, SCP from my server. Download this here. Insert my password. Downloaded it. So now we have the KeyPass database, but we don't have the password for it. But we can open, like, if we open KeyPass with this database, we can try to input something, and it doesn't work. Now, luckily, there is someone who made a nice PowerShell thing called like Key Thief. I think this was the one I used. So we can, or key, yeah. So we can use this PowerShell script here, keythief.ps1. I think we can just download, or again, just download and run this. So we use the same syntax as before, but with this thing. So first of all, from our interpreter shell, let's execute PowerShell.exe interactively. We download try again, download this. Unable to connect to the remote server. Why is that? If I try it from here, yeah, that works fine. That's interesting. So why is this not working? By the way, can you access this without HTTPS? I think it will just redirect, right? Yeah. Why can't we access that one? Is there something like blocking GitHub access? So in that case, I'll have to like download it and put it on my server instead. So let's see if that's the case. So just download this file here, rehost it, and try to fetch it from my server instead. I'm very confused. Do we have like a ping tool? Can we access the internet? So do we have some kind of firewalling going on? Maybe we have to disable it as well. Or is it like, but wait, it was able to connect out to my server, so that's very strange. Is it just the DNS that's messed up? I'm very confused, but let's like exploit disable Windows firewall. Could it be the case that so we can use this to just no execute PowerShell interactively, operational mode enable. Well, let's try to disable it then, and then check. So this is actually a little bit fun because these were things, I mean, if this is the problem, these were things I didn't have to worry about when actually running this, because someone else had already. Yeah, this is still not. Could it be something about like the process that I am running as that like very confused right now, but should we like migrate to another process and see if that's. Oh, maybe we'll have to redo this now. Yeah, this session died, so let's redo that. Run this command thing again. We get a new session. We go into that session. We get system privileges. We migrate into one of these other things. It's working. Running a system. Execute PowerShell. Let's try this again. Still unable to connect to remote server. Can we like ns lookup github.com? oh, ns lookup github.com. Yeah, so it might be DNS issues. It does seem to point to the right server. So could we? I mean, I guess we could resolve it manually, but then we get problems with the host name. I would ideally just like host exploit set DNS server. Can we just like set the DNS server or something for because if we do so what do we do? Like Windows, how do we set the DNS server it's using? Windows PowerShell set DNS server. Can we do this? Sets DNS server address associated with the, okay, that sounds reasonable. So interface index, maybe we could just leave that out and then ask it to use the Google DNS servers. Okay, we need to. So there was a question about ping didn't work either. Yeah, but that's, I mean, things might not be responding to pings, but and the server could connect to my, I mean, it's connecting back out on the internet to my server. This is how I'm able to interact with it. So it has internet access. It's just, so maybe interface index. Can't you just use address of your server, IP address of your server instead of name? I could, but unfortunately I have very I think I like only it will be issues with the certificate and stuff, but I think we should be able to just do this and then is that the wrong index? Can we list? Or use the interface alias? Get net adapter. Okay, this we can do. Yeah. So it thinks it has index 2. So we should be able to do this. By the way, I can do this. Yeah. So Could we then, like I said, we just set the DNS thing, and oh, we can actually even check here what what it's using. Okay, so it should be using the correct thing now. Maybe it's just NSLOOKUP that does not do that. Let's just try this again then. Nope. So request timeout. Request. Yeah. So it is trying to use the Google DNS server, and we're still getting timeout. So there is something funky going on here. Maybe I could just serve it from the SSH server that we, or the web server that we. So let's try that, because we have Python on this one. Someone suggested, since you're using Meterpreter, shouldn't you be able to import a local script? Load PowerShell import. That's a very good suggestion. I did not know that you could do that. So we load the PowerShell module, and then PowerShell import, and then let me just connect to my server and see what that was like. Thanks for that suggestion, Christopher. File successfully imported, no result was, and then we do like PowerShell execute. Oh, you could maybe even do then PowerShell shell, and then we should be able to use this key thief and just run this command. Nice, great. Thanks for that. So what we did, instead of downloading the file from the internet, which didn't seem to work, we used this PowerShell module in Metasploit to import the file from locally, and then start a shell with this script imported, and then we run the get keypass database key, which will then dump the memory of this keypass process and process it and decrypt this password. So let's try that to use this with keypass. Oh, I copied too much. There was a missing new line. And that will decrypt thing. And here we have a flag. Nice. and we have a user and a password for this test service. Great. So let's move on then to flag number 5. So we have 4 flags so far. Yes, that's correct. So now we have another user. So what can we do with this user? I mean, I know what we're supposed to do, but how do you actually discover this? So there was, okay, we can close down all of these things. Looking at the challenges, this 5th one is called resources exhausted. And there is this concept of so always bloodhound. Yes, we should do that. Okay, so bloodhound is a tool to like map out relationships in AD, and we can use this to like gather information about the relationships between things, and we can use this sharphound tool to gather information. So let's do this thing again where we download this sharphound script to my server, and then we hello, how do I exit this? Okay, cool. So again, let's do this script import thing where we import this. First of all, let's make sure that we are in a reasonable directory. Let's just make a new directory here, not suspicious at all, and then no entries exist here. Cool. And then we do PowerShell import sharphound, successfully imported, and then we run the invoke PowerShell shell, we run invoke bloodhound, and no, we are in a bad place. Do we actually need to give it some proper parameters? I remember just running. Maybe it was I used the executable version of this. So what you can do apart from running PowerShell scripts, you can upload files to the server. So we can just upload sharphound. I guess this is of course very noisy if you're doing this in like a live environment, but we don't really care about that. So oh, is this, we need the 64-bit version? Is that why this is not working? Or so let's mean a sharphound latest build. But no, this was let's start the PowerShell and then run. Okay. So it's interesting how many different errors I run into that was not really an issue when I did this before. So why is this not working? All right, so I have downloaded Bloodhound locally, and I think in this resources there's supposed to be the okay, now I'm extremely confused. Isn't this supposed to contain the ingesters as well? So question, no .NET runtime on target system. Yeah, I mean, I guess that could be the case. So do we need to install so how can we install the .NET framework onto the server? Like PowerShell install, or like maybe first of all check for .NET version. That would be a good start, I guess. So this thing could be used. PowerShell execute. Yeah, so it gives us so it gives us a version, and that is greater than this one. Is it the wrong, like, is it the like 32-bit or 64-bit mismatch thing? So let me just double check with Oh no, I deleted that stuff, right? So question about when will you be doing the pony racing again? I don't know. It will hopefully happen later. So here's some other variant of this, but can we get like Sharpound 32-bit? First of all, can we check? Oh, yeah, I'm stupid. I think I made a mistake here. Thing looks like I didn't actually get right. It seems like when I downloaded it, I copied the wrong link. Yeah, I got the HTML file. So this should just, can I just, is it still running? So maybe, okay, so now we can just do like execute PowerShell, interactive, run Sharpound. Now it says the server is not operational. Okay. Did the domain controller die? Was that what's happened? Is that why we don't have DNS as well? Let's close this one down, and then just let's do like the run like the Smb map again, for example. You unset your DNS before, so it does not find the DC. Oh, right. Wow. Yeah, thanks. So let's get this back. Thank you, security bits. Let's restore the DNS thing. Sharpound.exe. No. Let's do like ns lookup server1.lab.local. I'm gonna try like the Smb map thing again. Otherwise, this is a problem. Okay, no, that's fine. Someone says run it as a domain user. Right, so if we switch to, could we just is there yeah, I guess we could just use the run as script and just run it as like the like any user we already have, like the test service user, for example. So we have that. We should be able to just get a shell as this thing, right? All right, I had some issues with this as well before, but we should be able to just say that we want to run the sharp hound domain password. All right, we need to set the domain as well. So domain should be lab.local. Does this work? Failed. Yeah. Why is it, can we try to run it as one of the other users? The Azure kiosk user. So 1326 is authentication error. Oh, maybe I shouldn't put, if I put the domain separately, then I don't need to put it there, right? So cool. So that seemed to work, but also didn't seem to do anything. Paid 33.96 is already gone. Do I need to set like, no? Can we try to do this then? Get the output of this. No output at all. Okay, now I'm getting a little bit irritated. Unable to determine user's domain. Please manually specify with the domain flag. Can we try this? Okay, so now this makes sense. Like, check that you're in the domain context, which I'm not because I'm this user. So can we get a shell? So how can I just like log in as another user in the easiest way and just get a shell? Let's close down a bunch of tabs. Run as from inside PowerShell. Yes, that seems very much like the most easy way. How do I do this? So first of all, PowerShell shell, and then should I just use this start process credential? Yeah, I guess we could try this thing. Username as password is incorrect. Do I need to use the other one? Or do I maybe need to use the full? Since you have creds for the main user, you can either run as from PowerShell or use. So will this just give me like an interactive? So what is the syntax for this? Parameter set can be resolved. Oh, is it just like this? You say okay, user, and then like, well, and now my shell died. That's interesting. So we'll have to rerun this thing. So we can dump all of that stuff. Open a new session. We have to do this migration thing. Maybe I picked a bad one. Yeah, as you can tell, not my strongest area. So we have a shell again. Migrate to another process. The original request dies. We migrate successfully. We load the PowerShell module. We launch a PowerShell. We try to just use the run as command, and that does not seem to work very well. For some reason, the session just dies. So the other suggestion is to use like Mimikatz or Rubius and create a domain token. Yeah, that might be an idea. Wow, this is try and run Bloodhound before get system. Yeah, we can actually, that's maybe a good idea. Try it, run it directly from this initial shell that we have. Right, unable to current security context is not associated with an Active Directory. Sharp. No, I think we aren't we logged in as the local administrator? Or no, okay, maybe that's, but isn't that just a local? I mean, if this would have been domain context, then this should have said like lab 1, right? So, or otherwise, please tell me if I'm wrong. So so let's try the the other variant with like Rubius or Mimikatz. This is a suggestion to log into server 2. Yeah, but can we do that? I think that's because that's like the next step, and we want to get this data to be able to determine. By the way, we can delete some of this stuff because it turned out to be not relevant. Yes. The Mimikatz. How do you do this? Create domain ticket. Not just, I don't, not the golden ticket. I just want to like log in as a user. Maybe I should just use Rubius for that instead. So server 1 is the computer name, hence you're running it from a local user security context. Yeah, exactly. That was what I assumed, right? So we need to log in as a domain user so that we can query the domain controller about all the stuff. So you either need to run it as a domain user or supply the LDAP username and password. Oh, right. So we can we tell Sharpound itself to just log in for us, because then we will just do that for now, and I will not bother with. Okay, cool. Then we will do that instead. So Sharpound. Can I do just like this? Yes. LDAP username, LDAP password. Yeah, okay. Then we will do this. Sharpound LDAP username. And I guess we should be able to use either of these. LDAP password. Okay, we have to specify the domain lab local. Okay, this is working great. Thanks to the comment section, thanks to the chat for this. So let's just like delete all of that stuff. And what we have now is we have this zip file, this Bloodhound zip file, and I will not like. So what you can do now is you can download this and you can import it into Bloodhound. I have already done this from when I was doing this before, so I will not redo it. You just set up Bloodhound, you import the data from that zip file, and you import this into Bloodhound, and here you can do things like find all the domain admins, you can do different queries about the domain. And if you look through these things, you can find here unconstrained delegation is the topic we want to look at. And let's see now. How to read this properly. So yes, so here, if I understand this correctly, I'm kind of trying to like reverse engineer how you read this from this. But if I understand this correctly, basically this, so this test service user, first of all, we can like set mark as owned, I guess, and then I'm a little bit unsure exactly how to read these results and how to tell from this. But basically, we should be able to find out here that you have this unconstrained delegation false. I'm missing something. Or is it just constrained? Yeah, so exactly, can someone explain to me what I'm looking for? Oh, cool. You can right click on the edge and click help. So this service has generic all privileges to the computer service server 2. This also knows full control. This privilege allows the trustee to manipulate the target object however they wish. And this means like abuse info. Full control of a computer can be used to perform a resource-based constraint delegation attack. Abusing this privilege is currently only possible through the Rubius project. You can create a new account when they get the identifier for that account, and then we create this generic ACE and we modify this. So if I understand this correctly, basically what we're saying is that we create this new user account and then we tell this server that this user account is allowed to impersonate any other user on this server, if I understand things correctly. So we want to use this PowerMad again. Let's download that then. PowerMad PowerShell. So we get the PowerMad. We download this. We exit this shell. And then we do PowerShell import PowerMad.ps1. And then we also need the Rubius for this. So we are gonna upload that onto the server. You can close these things down. And can we get some pre-built binaries from this? can someone please have just compiled this here? And yes, I am downloading unknown executables from the internet, but I'm not running them on my own computer. I'm running them on someone else's computer. Okay, so we have now the tools we need. So now let's perform this attack. So basically, just gonna copy this into our notes and then remove the okay, so now we do this. We create this account, and then we create this security descriptor thing, and then we set that on the target computer. So we should set this to be this server 2. Do we need to write out like the whole is it the short? Okay, let's try this. So we get a PowerShell shell. We create this account. Get to main computer is not. Wait, didn't we import? Oh, maybe that comes from the is that from the Power View tool thing? Maybe. Get no, that should be from this, right? Oh my god. Okay, so it is from Power View. Okay, so we need to get Power View as well. We can get that. So let's download that to our server. We import powerview.ps1, no problem, and then we should be able to run this thing. Why? Is this not? I really have all the issues, right? So this should. Let me close down a few things again. So Powersploit, isn't this? This is. Get. Okay, why is this function not accessible then? Is this even inside this? So where did this function go? I used this. Use the dev branch. Is this why it didn't work? Let's try to download that one then. Okay, import PowerView file failed to load. Do we have to rename it to PowerView dev.ps1? Maybe this is working. Maybe it's not. Oh, again, it looks like I downloaded the. Yeah, of course. Now it's almost getting a bit silly. So we download the dev branch of PowerView. We rename it. We try to import it. Now that seems to have worked. We launch a PowerShell shell. Now we try to run this. Oh, right, we have to, of course, redo this. Target computer, cool. Something didn't work. Get names. Okay, so we are getting some kind of error, but we are getting the SID. So maybe just let's just, can we just manually copy that? Maybe that will work anyway. And then we set this on the computer, and we're getting some kind of error. So again, I'm getting some kind of error, but it also seems to be working. This is very confusing. Let's calculate this hash. Yes. Set AD object, not set domain object. All right. Yeah, because when I did it originally, I copied this from a different guide. Oh wait, we need to log in as the as this user, right? So actually what I did, of course we need to log into that user. So what I did to this for this last time actually was to just execute this other PowerShell command. So just do yeah, this is what I did. So we exit our session, we background this session, we set up the so we use this run as thing to run I know this will not work again, of course, because so let's just upload let's upload the file to the server, the shell. So it's there, and now I think this should work better then. It does not seem to work though. Why is this? Maybe we could just make it simpler, right? So wait, PowerShell run file. It uses the file parameter like that, right? It's So it was suggest like it acts on the session, so interact with the session again. Yeah, no, but this is, it's supposed to be like a connect back shell using that using that user. So it should say that we have another session starting. So something is wrong. So we should be able to use this and just run. Do we have to like double escape it for it to be correct, or maybe I should just generate the an exe version of this and upload that to minimize the amount of issues here. So just use MSF Venom again. Basically exactly the same syntax as before, but with the format of exe instead. And then we upload that to the server, and then this whole run as thing could be simplified to just this, assuming no like AV or anything catches this. Oh, maybe actually set the correct path. Yes, and now we get the a session. So I don't think that's the simplest way of doing it, but now if I, in this session, I'm this the test service user, so that works. So now, first of all, we could try this by running load PowerShell, shell, and then load the no, not Rubius, sharphound. Sharp. Yeah, so now notice that okay, apart from the fact that we don't have write permissions to this directory, but other than that, it would have worked to just run. So I guess we could like switch over to, yeah, we could have made this the permissions for this directory. Can I create a new like directory, or do I have permission for that? Yeah, and then I could just run sharphound domain lab.local, and that should just work. Great. So this was another way of doing it when we had actually logged in with the test service user. So now let's exit the PowerShell and import these modules. Power view dev.ps1 and as well power mad.ps1 was the name of it. Power, oh, great. And then we can get the shell again, and I'm actually gonna look up the commands that I used for this. No, so I did use set domain object. So why? let's try this all again now. We create this. We try to get the computer SID. Oh, and then the session died. Yeah. Okay, so for some reason when I ran the get domain computer, it crashed the session. So yeah, that was not very nice. So let's try this again. Import power view on the server and power map, and then we get the shell, and then we'll just use this hard-coded SID and try to create these things, no errors, and then so this was actually incorrect. Yeah, so let's not use the variable. Let's just exception calling find all with. So can I do just this? Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. And then it's, yeah, now this is just frustrating. So should we use some like older version of this? Is this? Get. Okay, so in this version they have the get AD object. Okay, so let's do that then. Let's do the regular version and PowerShell shell and use the older syntax. So again, we set up this, get the computers. We create these things, no issues. And we use this set AD object. And I guess what are we setting? We are setting this thing to these things. Oh, right, we have to actually, no, wait. Yeah? Do we have to like put this in? Yeah, so maybe if we just Google this, we can get some delegation. Yeah, this looks like the article that I was using when I did this. They also use this newer syntax then, I guess. So we yeah, so security bits, do you have the the exact syntax to use for this when you use these bytes? Because this doesn't seem to. Is this? But what I really don't understand is like why did this work when I tried it? So is this possibly related to the? No. I thought there might be some issues with this, like the connection to with like this DNS stuff, which is really in. Wait, now that works. Or yeah. Yeah, there's something really messed up here. Yeah, I don't know if how much I will continue with this, since this I have no idea why everything is erroring out, and it's very irritating. But basically what you're doing, so we're basically using this test service account to make changes to this server 2 computer to tell it to trust this fake user that we created, and allow it to impersonate any user on that server. And then we can log in to that server by impersonating any user, and then we can just get an interactive session on that server, and then we can get code execution on the server, and this should work fine. But yeah, something is not really playing along, and I had none of these issues when I did this, when I just followed this guide. And so let me just delete all of this again and just copy the stuff that I had here. And then yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm just have to explain the final little piece based on the data we have extracted. So as I said, you use this fact that you can impersonate any user. You should be able to basically just follow this article. So what you do is you create a fake user, you tell the server to trust the user, like to impersonate any user, and then you impersonate any user on that server, and then you get the code execution on that server, and yeah, there you will find the flag. And then finally, to get the final flag, which I didn't get, we go back to this the dump data, or wait, where did I actually see this? Yes, you can query the domain controller for permissions and stuff, and I guess this could be found in like Bloodhound as well, maybe. But that's not how I did it. I used I used this little snippet to basically query the domain controller and see which computers have this like replication permission. And if you do that, you should be able to see that this server 2 yeah, now everything is dying here again. Anyway, if you run this, you will notice that this computer, server 2, where am I, is allowed to like perform replication, which means that using when you have code execution on server 2, you should just be able to use the DC sync command to extract the Kerberos hash from the domain controller. And yeah, that's it basically. So yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't like finish this last part. I can't really be, it's, yeah, things are breaking and I don't know why, and I don't really want to like spend a long time debugging it. So yeah, that's it for this session. Unless you have any like other comments or questions in the chat. And the big congratulations to the teams who solved all of this. We're 4 different teams who got all the way, and then me and my teammate Liquidera, we almost had it all. 20 different teams playing in this, and that was of course thanks to Knowit for hosting this. It was fun. I learned a lot about Windows stuff. As I said, this is really not my area at all. So yeah, hope you'll enjoy this little walkthrough, and yeah, have a nice day wherever you are. So thanks a lot and goodbye.